The consistent circle, present this audiobook titled Remote Work Hacks. Subtitle, Mastering the Art of Distance to Unlock the Power of Self. Narrator, Divine Echo. Introduction, The Great Unbundling. The greatest shift in the history of work is not about where we work, but about who we become when the boss isn't watching. For generations, the architecture of our lives was predetermined. The alarm clock dictated the commute dictated the arrival time, and the office building dictated the boundaries of our productivity. We traded our time for a paycheck, but we also traded our autonomy for a structure. We knew where we belonged from 9 to 5, and we knew exactly when we were allowed to leave. Then, almost overnight, that world dissolved. The office dispersed into living rooms, kitchen tables, and home offices. The commute shrank from an hour in traffic to 10 steps down the hallway. At first, this new freedom felt like a liberation. No pants, no problem. The dream of flexibility finally seemed within reach. But soon, the euphoria faded, and a new, more insidious challenge emerged. Without the hum of colleagues, the pressure of visible oversight, and the physical walls that once separated the professional from the personal, we were left alone in the void. We realized that working from home wasn't just about changing our location. It was about being forced to change our identity. The external structure that had held us up for decades had vanished, and in its place, we were required to build an internal one. This is the hidden curriculum of remote work. This book is not merely a collection of tips about finding the best ergonomic chair or the perfect noise-canceling headphones, though those things certainly help. This is about the hacks that matter most. The mental models, the emotional disciplines, and the strategic habits that turn a passive remote worker into a self-directed leader. We stand at a unique crossroads in human history. We have been handed the gift of autonomy, but with that gift comes the immense weight of responsibility. We can no longer blame the traffic for being late or the noisy office for a lack of focus. We are now the sole architects of our time, our energy, and our impact. This book is divided into 7 chapters, each designed to tackle a specific pain point of the remote lifestyle, from designing your environment to combating isolation, and reframe it as an opportunity for profound self-development. We will explore how the struggle to stay visible actually teaches us to articulate our value. We will discover how the challenge of switching off teaches us the art of integration. This is not a guide to surviving remote work. It is a manual for thriving within it. It is an invitation to stop seeing your home as a satellite office and start seeing it as a sanctuary for growth. Welcome to the journey of building a better career and, in the process, a better you. The destination is not a corner office. It is a centered self. Chapter 1. The Architecture of Influence, Designing Your Environment. Your environment is the invisible hand that shapes your behavior. To change your output, first change the stage upon which you perform. The Silent Puppeteer. There is a scene in almost every heist movie where the mastermind stands before a whiteboard, strings connecting photographs of the Marx house, their routines, their weaknesses. They are looking for patterns. They understand a fundamental truth that most of us overlook. Human behavior is not random. It is a response to stimuli. If you want to predict what someone will do, don't look inside their head. Look at the room they are standing in. For decades, corporations understood this better than we did. They didn't build offices by accident. They engineered them. The placement of the coffee machine was designed to encourage cross-departmental collisions. The open floor plan was meant to foster a hum of activity. The fluorescent lighting was chosen because it keeps people alert and, unfortunately, slightly miserable. The office was a carefully constructed stage, and we were the actors, playing our roles of employee from 9 to 5. Then we went home. And suddenly the stagehands vanished. The sets were dismantled. We found ourselves standing in the middle of our living rooms, laptop in hand, expected to perform the exact same role without any of the environmental cues that told us how to act. The couch whispered, "Relax, watch television." The bed murmured, "Come back to sleep." The kitchen counter sang the siren song of snacks. This is the first and most brutal challenge of remote work. The environment you live in was never designed for deep, focused labor. It was designed for living. And if you do not consciously, aggressively, and intelligently redesign it, You will lose the battle for your own attention before it even begins. This chapter is not about interior design. It is about behavioral psychology applied to square footage. It is about recognizing that willpower is a finite resource, and the smartest thing you can do is stop relying on it. Instead, you must build an environment so aligned with your goals that success becomes the path of least resistance. The science of environmental triggers. To understand why your environment matters more than your motivation, you must first understand the science of triggers. Every habit, every action you take, is initiated by a cue. You don't just decide to check your phone. The buzz of a notification triggers the action. You don't just decide to feel sleepy. The sight of your bed triggers the release of melatonin. In his groundbreaking book, The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg explains the habit loop. Cue, routine, reward. The cue is the trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode. The routine is the behavior itself. The reward is the payoff that tells your brain whether this loop is worth remembering. When you work in an office, the cues are everywhere. The sight of your computer, the sound of typing colleagues, the boardroom with its whiteboard, these are all cues that say, it is time to work. When you work from home, those cues are replaced. The sight of your computer might now be the same sight as your entertainment center. The sound of typing might be replaced by the sound of a delivery truck or your neighbor's lawnmower. The hack, you must become a master of cues. You must intentionally design triggers that tell your brain, with absolute clarity, what mode it is supposed to be in. This is not a suggestion. It is a survival mechanism. Context is king. The human brain is a context-dependent machine. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately forgotten why you went there? The moment you cross the threshold, the context of the previous room vanishes, and with it, the thought you were holding. The same principle applies to work. If you work from the same spot where you watch Netflix at night, your brain becomes confused. It associates that space with leisure, comfort, and escape. When you sit there at 9 a.m. with a spreadsheet, you are asking your brain to fight its own deeply ingrained associations. You are swimming upstream against a current of neural pathways built over months or years. This is why so many people report feeling stuck or foggy when working from home. It's not that they lack intelligence or drive. It's that their brain is receiving mixed signals. It's like trying to run a marathon on a treadmill that keeps switching to massage mode. The hack: create context-specific zones. If you live in a studio apartment where physical separation is impossible, create temporal or sensory separation. Let me illustrate this with a story. A friend of mine, a graphic designer, lived in a tiny New York apartment. She had no spare room, no corner for an office. Her bed was 3 feet from her desk. She was miserable, unfocused, and starting to resent her work. Then she implemented a brutal but effective hack. Every morning, she would physically move her desk. It was a small, lightweight table. She would slide it 6 inches to the left, rotate it slightly, and then place a specific tablecloth on it that she only used during work hours. She bought a lamp with a bright white bulb that she only turned on for work. At 5 p.m., she would put the tablecloth away, turn off the lamp, and slide the table back. It sounds absurd, but it worked. The physical act of moving the table, the specific lighting, the unique texture of the cloth, these became cues. Her brain learned, tablecloth plus bright light equals work. No tablecloth plus soft light equals rest. She hacked her environment with nothing more than intention and a few dollars from a home goods store. You cannot change your habits without changing the contexts that trigger them. The space between stimulus and response is where your freedom lies. The digital environment, the invisible pollutant. We have talked about the physical world, but there is another environment that is just as influential, if not more so, your digital environment. If your physical space is the stage, your digital space is the script. Look at your computer desktop right now. Is it a chaotic graveyard of files named Final V3? How many tabs do you have open? Is your taskbar cluttered with apps you haven't used in months? Every single icon, every notification badge, every flashing tab is a micro-distraction. It is a tiny hand reaching up and tapping you on the shoulder, saying, "Look at me, look at me, look at me." In an office, your computer is a work tool. At home, it is also your movie theater, your library, your shopping mall, and your social club. The lines blur, and the result is cognitive chaos. Researchers at the University of California, Irvine, found that it takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to return to a task after an interruption. 23 minutes. If you glance at a Slack message that you could have ignored, you haven't lost 5 seconds. You have lost half an hour of productive potential because your brain needs time to context switch, to reload the mental model of the original task. The hack: declare digital sovereignty. Your computer belongs to you, not to the apps fighting for your attention. Start with a desktop cleanse. Move every file into a structured folder system. Change your wallpaper to something minimalist and calming. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Use focus mode or do not disturb liberally. If an app or website is a particular time sink, use website blockers during work hours. Treat your digital space with the same care you would treat a physical office. You wouldn't allow a stranger to wander into your workspace and tap you on the shoulder every 5 minutes. Why do you allow apps to do the same? The ritual of transition. One of the most overlooked aspects of environmental design is the transition itself. In the old world, the commute served a hidden psychological function. It was a buffer. It was the bridge between home self and work self. You listened to music, you stared out the window, you mentally prepared for the day. On the way home, you decompressed. You left the stress at the office door, literally. When your commute is 10 seconds, that buffer disappears. You roll out of bed and are immediately at work. You close your laptop and are immediately at home. This abrupt transition is jarring. It leaves you feeling like you never truly left work and never truly arrived at home. The hack: create an artificial commute. This is one of the most powerful environmental hacks in existence. It doesn't have to be long. It just has to be intentional. Before you start work, leave your house, walk around the block, listen to a podcast, get a coffee. The act of physically leaving and returning signals to your brain that a transition is occurring. You are crossing a threshold. At the end of the day, do the same thing. Close your laptop, change your clothes, then go for a walk. When you return, you are returning as a person, not as an employee. I know a software engineer who takes this to an extreme. He has a small, battery-powered alarm clock. At 5:00 p.m., he sets the alarm for 8:00 a.m. the next morning, walks to his front door, leaves his home office, and puts the alarm clock in the kitchen. The next morning, when the alarm goes off, he has to walk to the kitchen to turn it off. That walk is his commute. He then makes coffee, sits down, and only then opens his laptop. He has engineered a ritual that bookends his day. The commute was never just about distance. It was about decompression. To work from home is to learn the art of the mental commute, the deliberate crossing from oneself to another. The economics of attention. Let us talk about money for a moment. We often hear that remote work saves money. No gas, no lunches out, no work wardrobe. But there is a hidden cost that many refuse to pay, the cost of a functional environment. People will spend thousands of dollars on a vacation to relax for 1 week, but they refuse to spend $200 on a decent office chair that they will sit in for 40 hours a week for years. This is a catastrophic failure of priorities. Your attention is your most valuable economic asset. It is the raw material from which your work product is built. If you are sitting in a chair that hurts your back, your brain is constantly receiving pain signals. Those signals are distractions. If you are working on a tiny laptop screen, hunched over like a shrimp, your physical discomfort is bleeding into your cognitive performance. The hack: invest in your environment as if it were a revenue-generating asset, because it is. Buy the chair, buy the second monitor, buy the standing desk converter, buy the good lighting. If you cannot afford these things, get creative. Rate a second-hand store. Repurpose a kitchen table. But do not accept discomfort as a given. Your body is the vessel for your mind, and your environment is the container for your body. If the container is broken, the contents spill. The sound of silence and noise. Sound is an environmental factor we rarely consider until it bothers us. In an open-plan office, the sound was a uniform hum. It was predictable. At home, sound is unpredictable. The dog barks. The delivery truck rumbles. The neighbor decides to practice the trumpet. These unpredictable sounds are more disruptive than constant noise because they trigger our threat detection system. We are hardwired to notice sudden changes in our auditory environment. It is a survival mechanism left over from our days on the savannah. A sudden sound could mean a predator. The hack take control of your auditory environment. You have 3 weapons: headphones, white noise, and scheduling. Invest in good noise-canceling headphones. They are not a luxury. They are a moat around your concentration. If you cannot wear headphones, use a white noise machine or an app that plays brown noise, which is deeper and less intrusive than white noise. Alternatively, use curated playlists. Many people find that lyricless music, such as lo-fi hip-hop or classical, helps create an auditory bubble. You can also schedule your deep work during the quietest parts of the day. If your neighborhood is chaotic at 2 p.m., don't fight it. Do administrative tasks then, and do your deep work at 6 a.m. when the world is asleep. The visual field. Finally, consider what you see. Your visual field is constantly feeding information to your brain. If your desk faces a pile of laundry, your brain is subconsciously processing that pile. It is noting the disorder, perhaps feeling a vague sense of guilt or stress about the chores left undone. This micro-stress accumulates. The hack: curate your visual field. Face a wall if you have to. If you face a window, ensure the view is calming, not distracting. Keep your immediate workspace clear of clutter. Have a place for everything and everything in its place. Some people place a small plant on their desk. The green life, the organic shape, provides a visual rest stop for the eyes. Others use a vision board or a single piece of inspirational art. The key is intention. Do not let your eyes land on chaos. Give them order. Conclusion: you are the architect. The great lie of modern productivity culture is that you can think your way to success. That if you just had more willpower, more discipline, more grit, you could overcome any obstacle. This is a dangerous falsehood. Willpower is a muscle that fatigues. Discipline is a fire that requires fuel. But environment is always there. It is working for you or against you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When you take the time to architect your environment, physical, digital, auditory, and visual, you stop fighting yourself. You stop relying on heroic efforts of will. Instead, you build a world where the right behavior is the easy behavior. You make productivity the path of least resistance. This is the first and most fundamental hack of remote work. It is the foundation upon which all other hacks are built. You cannot master your time if you cannot master your space. You cannot master your mind if you cannot master your context. So look around you right now. Really look. Is this space serving you, or are you serving it? The answer to that question is the beginning of your transformation. In the next chapter, we will move from the external to the internal. We will explore what happens when the boss leaves the building, and you are left alone in the quiet void with nothing but your own mind for company. We will discuss the discipline of the void and how to build self-accountability when no one is watching. But for now, fix your stage. The play cannot begin until the set is ready. You cannot rise to your goals. You fall to the level of your environment. Design your world, or your world will design you. Chapter 2: The Discipline of the Void, Self-Accountability. Discipline is simply choosing what you want most over what you want now. In the quiet of your home, that voice of choice must become louder than the noise of distraction. The Vanishing Supervisor. There is a scene in every Western film where the sheriff rides out of town. He tips his hat, turns his horse, and disappears over the horizon. Suddenly, the town is quiet. The law is gone. The saloon doors swing open, and the chaos begins. For most of your professional life, you have had a sheriff in town. It might have been a manager who walked by your desk. It might have been the colleague sitting next to you whose work ethic shamed you into productivity. It might have been the simple social pressure of being seen. The office was a panopticon, a system where you never knew who might be watching, so you acted as if you were always being watched. Then you went remote, and the sheriff left town. At first, it felt liberating. No one looking over your shoulder, no one timing your coffee breaks. But slowly, insidiously, something began to shift. Deadlines started to feel flexible. The urgent email could wait 30 minutes while you scrolled social media. The project that required deep focus could be postponed until after lunch, then after another coffee, then until tomorrow. You looked around. No one was there. No one would know. And that is precisely the problem. The void of remote work is not just a physical absence. It is a moral and psychological vacuum. In that vacuum, you are forced to confront a terrifying question. Who are you when no one is watching? Are you the person who works because you love the work? Or are you the person who only works because someone is forcing you? This chapter is about answering that question. It is about the transition from external accountability to internal integrity. It is about becoming the sheriff of your own town. The myth of motivation. Let us dispel a myth right now. Motivation is unreliable. It is a fickle friend that shows up when it feels like it, usually when the sun is shining and you've had a good night's sleep. Motivation is not a strategy, it is an emotion. In the office, we didn't need motivation because we had structure. The structure carried us through the low-energy days. We showed up because we had to, and once we were there, the momentum of the office carried us forward. In the void, motivation dies. Without the external structure, you are left with nothing but your own internal resources. And on a Tuesday afternoon in February, when the rain is pounding against the window and the couch looks impossibly comfortable, those internal resources can feel woefully inadequate. The hack: stop waiting for motivation. Start building systems. Motivation is the desire to do something. Discipline is doing it anyway. Systems are the scaffolding that makes discipline easier. If you wait until you feel like working, you will spend most of your life waiting. The hack is to recognize that action precedes motivation, not the other way around. You do not run because you feel motivated. You feel motivated because you run. This is the first lesson of the void. Feelings follow actions. If you sit on the couch, you will feel lazy. If you sit at your desk and open your work, you will feel productive. The feeling is a result, not a cause. The promise keeper. There is a concept in psychology called self-concept. It is the story you tell yourself about who you are. If you believe you are a disciplined person, you will act in accordance with that belief. If you believe you are lazy, you will also act in accordance with that belief. The problem is that your self-concept is built from evidence. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you add a brick to the wall of I am unreliable. Every time you say, I'll start this task at 9 a.m., and then you don't, you are teaching your subconscious that your word means nothing. In the office, you kept promises because others expected you to. In the void, the only person expecting anything is you. And if you consistently let yourself down, you eventually stop believing in yourself. This is the death spiral of remote work. Broken promises lead to low self-trust, which leads to lower effort, which leads to more broken promises. The hack: treat your promises to yourself as seriously as you treat promises to your boss. If you tell yourself you will start work at 9 a.m., be at your desk at 8:55 a.m. If you tell yourself you will finish a report by noon, finish it by 11:45 a.m. These small victories are not just about productivity, they are about identity. Every kept promise is a deposit in the bank of self-respect. Every broken promise is a withdrawal. Start small. Do not promise yourself a 4-hour deep work session if you have been struggling to focus for 20 minutes. Promise yourself 20 minutes. Keep that promise. Then promise yourself another 20 minutes. Build the muscle of integrity slowly, with low weight, before you try to lift something heavy. The way you keep your promises to yourself is the way you keep your promises to the world. There is no separation. The enemy of progress: decision fatigue. One of the hidden drains on your willpower is the sheer number of decisions you have to make in a remote environment. In the office, many decisions were made for you. When to start? 9 a.m. Where to sit? Your desk. What to work on? The priority list from your manager. At home, every moment presents a decision. Should I start now or after this video? Should I work from the desk or the kitchen table? Should I answer emails first or dive into the deep work? Each decision, no matter how small, depletes a finite reservoir of mental energy. This is called decision fatigue, and it is the silent killer of remote productivity. By the time you finally sit down to do the important work, you have already exhausted your brain with 100 micro-decisions. You have nothing left for the task that actually matters. The hack: automate the trivial. Create routines that remove decisions from your day. Decide tonight what you will work on tomorrow morning. Decide that you will always start at the same time. Decide that you will always work from the same spot. Decide that the first hour of your day is for deep work, no exceptions, no decisions. The most productive remote workers are often the most boring. They eat the same breakfast, start at the same time, and follow the same sequence of tasks every single day. They have outsourced their decision-making to habit. They are not wasting willpower on what to do next. They are conserving it for how to do it well. This is the paradox of freedom. To be truly free to create, you must be strictly bound by routine. The routine is the cage that protects you from the chaos of infinite choice. The accountability void. In the office, accountability was baked into the structure. Deadlines were enforced by managers. Quality was checked by peers. Progress was visible to all. In the void, accountability must be self-generated, and this is where many people fail. The human brain is not designed for self-accountability. It is designed for social survival. We care deeply about what others think of us because, for most of human history, being cast out of the tribe meant death. Our brains are wired to respond to external judgment. They are not wired to respond to internal judgment. This is why so many people struggle to work when no one is watching. Their brain is saying, if no one sees it, does it matter? And their conscious mind is struggling to say, yes, it matters because I see it. The hack: create external accountability structures even when none exist. Find an accountability partner, a colleague, a friend, or a fellow remote worker. At the start of each week, share your goals with them. At the end of each day, send them a brief update on your progress. The mere act of knowing you will have to report to someone else triggers the social wiring in your brain. You are hacking your own biology by creating a virtual tribe. If you cannot find a partner, go public. Announce your goals on social media. Tell your family what you plan to accomplish today. The more people who know, the more pressure you create. And pressure in this case is not a burden, it is a gift. It is the external structure you need to survive the void. The dignity of starting. There is a phenomenon in productivity known as the Zeigarnik effect. It states that the human brain remembers unfinished tasks better than completed ones. This is why cliffhangers keep us watching, and why unfinished projects haunt our thoughts. The Zeigarnik effect is also the secret weapon against the void. The hardest part of any task is the beginning. The first 5 minutes are a mountain, but once you start, the brain becomes obsessed with finishing. The unfinished task nags at you, pulls at you, demands completion. The hack: use the 5-minute rule. When you are staring at a task you do not want to do, promise yourself you will do it for just 5 minutes. Anyone can do anything for 5 minutes. 5 minutes of writing, 5 minutes of spreadsheet work, 5 minutes of email cleanup. What happens is almost magical. After 5 minutes, the Zeigarnik effect kicks in. You have started, and now your brain wants to finish. The momentum builds. The resistance that felt like a wall just moments ago now feels like a gentle slope. This works because it bypasses the part of your brain that is afraid of pain. Your brain looks at a 4-hour project and sees suffering. It looks at 5 minutes and sees nothing. By the time the 5 minutes are up, you are already in motion, and motion is easier to sustain than to start. The hardest part of any journey is not the distance. It is the decision to take the first step. Once you move, the path moves with you. The perfectionism trap. The void is a dangerous place for perfectionists. In the office, perfectionism is held in check by deadlines and social pressure. You have to turn something in because the team is waiting. At home, the only person waiting is you, and you can wait forever. Perfectionism is not a love of excellence. It is a fear of failure. It is the belief that if you cannot do something perfectly, you should not do it at all. In the void, this belief runs rampant. You delay starting because you are not in the right mood. You endlessly revise because the first draft wasn't flawless. You miss deadlines because the work wasn't ready. The hack: embrace good enough. This does not mean producing shoddy work. It means recognizing that perfection is an illusion and that done is better than perfect. It means giving yourself permission to write a terrible first draft because you can edit a terrible draft, but you cannot edit a blank page. Set a timer. When the timer goes off, you stop. You turn it in. You let it go. The world will not end. In fact, the world will probably not even notice the minor imperfections that kept you up at night. The only person who noticed was you, trapped in the void with your own impossible standards. The body in the void. We have talked about the mind, but we cannot ignore the body. In the office, your body was in motion. You walked to meetings. You walked to the bathroom. You walked to the coffee machine. You walked to lunch. These micro-movements added up to hours of activity over the course of a week. In the void, the body becomes still. You walk from the bed to the desk. You sit for 8 hours. You walk from the desk to the couch. You sit for 4 more hours. This stillness is not just bad for your physical health, it is catastrophic for your mental clarity. The body and mind are not separate. When the body stagnates, the mind stagnates. Blood flow decreases. Oxygen levels drop. Neurotransmitters that require movement to be produced, dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, begin to dwindle. You feel sluggish because you are sluggish. The hack: build movement into your accountability structure. Stand up during phone calls. Take walking meetings if possible. Set a timer to rise from your desk every hour and stretch for 2 minutes. Better yet, invest in a standing desk or a treadmill desk. The goal is not to become an athlete. The goal is to remind your body that it exists. There is a reason why some of the best ideas come during a walk. Movement unlocks the brain. It shakes loose the cobwebs. In the void, where distractions are few and focus is paramount, the greatest threat to your focus is your own lethargic body. Wake it up. The guilt spiral. One of the most destructive forces in the void is the guilt spiral. It works like this: you procrastinate for an hour. Then you feel guilty about procrastinating. The guilt makes you feel bad, so you seek comfort. You procrastinate for another hour to escape the guilt. Now the guilt is worse. You are trapped. The guilt spiral is fueled by the belief that you should be working every single moment. This belief is unrealistic and destructive. No one works every moment, not even in an office. In the office, you had coffee breaks, water cooler chats, and moments of staring out the window. These were not waste, they were necessary recovery. The hack: schedule your breaks. If you know you have a 15-minute break scheduled for 10:30 a.m., you do not need to feel guilty about checking social media at 10:30 a.m. It is scheduled. It is allowed. It is part of the plan. The key is to separate planned breaks from unplanned procrastination. Planned breaks are restorative. Unplanned procrastination is corrosive. By scheduling your breaks, you give yourself permission to rest without guilt. And when you return to work, you return with a clear conscience and renewed focus. The mirror test. At the end of every day, you will close your laptop. You will look in the mirror, and you will know the truth. You will know whether you gave your best or whether you coasted. You will know whether you kept your promises or whether you let yourself down. This is the ultimate accountability structure. It is not a boss. It is not a deadline. It is not a colleague. It is you looking at you. The void is terrifying because it strips away all the excuses. You cannot blame the noisy office. You cannot blame the long commute. You cannot blame the difficult boss. In the quiet of your home, there is only you and the work. And the quality of that work is a direct reflection of the quality of your character. The hack: conduct a daily debrief. At the end of each day, ask yourself 3 questions. Did I do today what I said I would do? Did I work with focus and intention? If I were my own employee, would I give myself a raise today? Answer honestly. No one is listening, no one is judging. This is between you and you. If the answer is no, do not punish yourself. Ask why. Learn, adjust, try again tomorrow. This is the discipline of the void. It is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is about showing up for yourself day after day until you become someone you can trust. Conclusion: the internal compass. The office was an external compass. It pointed north and you followed. The void has no compass. You must build your own. This is the great gift of remote work. It forces you to develop something that office workers never had to develop: internal integrity. It forces you to become the kind of person who works not because they are watched, but because the work matters. It forces you to keep promises to yourself because you have learned that your word is your bond. This is not easy. It is the hardest work you will ever do, but it is also the most rewarding. Because when you master the void, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, you are free. In the next chapter, we will move from the internal to the interpersonal. We will explore how to communicate effectively when you are invisible and how to build trust in a world without body language. We will discuss the art of over-communication. But for now, sit with the void. Make peace with it. It is not your enemy. It is your teacher. In the absence of external pressure, you discover your internal weight. The void does not empty you. It reveals you. Chapter 3. Communicating the unseen, the art of over-communication. In the absence of information, people will assume the worst. As a remote worker, your superpower is the ability to flood the void with light through clear, kind, and consistent communication. The ghost in the machine. Imagine walking into your office on a Monday morning. You pass your colleague's desk. They are staring at their screen, jaw tight, eyebrows furrowed. They don't look up. They don't say hello. In an instant, your brain processes 1,000 pieces of information. Are they angry? Are they just focused? Did something happen over the weekend? You might approach them carefully, or you might give them space. Either way, you have data. You can read the room. Now imagine the same scenario in a remote world. You send a message to that same colleague on Slack. An hour passes. No reply. 2 hours. Nothing. Your brain, starved of data, begins to fill the void. Are they ignoring me? Are they upset about something I said? Did I do something wrong? The silence grows louder and anxiety takes root. This is the fundamental challenge of remote communication. We are social creatures designed to read faces, tones, and body language. We are experts at picking up subtle cues. Strip those cues away, and we are left blind. We are ghosts in a machine, sending signals into the void, hoping someone is on the other end. In the office, communication was rich and multi-layered. You had the words, but you also had the tone, the posture, the eye contact, the context of the room. You could resolve a misunderstanding in 30 seconds by walking over to someone's desk. You could build trust by sharing a coffee and a laugh. In the remote world, communication is thin. It is text on a screen. It is a voice without a face. It is an email without context. And thin communication is prone to misunderstanding, conflict, and isolation. This chapter is about thickening your communication. It is about learning to transmit not just information, but presence. It is about becoming visible in a world where invisibility is the default. The clarity premium. There is a concept in economics called the clarity premium. It is the idea that clear communication has value above and beyond the information it conveys. In a remote environment, the clarity premium is enormous. When you communicate clearly, you save time. You prevent misunderstandings. You reduce the back and forth of clarifying questions. But more importantly, you build trust. People trust those who are easy to understand. They trust those who say what they mean and mean what they say. The problem is that clear communication is hard. It requires effort. It requires thinking about the reader, not just the writer. It requires stripping away ambiguity and leaving nothing to chance. The hack: write for the person who knows nothing. Before you hit send on any message, ask yourself, could someone who has no context understand this? Could someone who just woke up from a coma understand what I need and why I need it? This means providing context. It means explaining the background before asking the question. It means stating the desired outcome clearly. It means using bullet points for complex information. It means ending with a clear call to action. Please let me know by 3 p.m. if you approve this. In the office, you could rely on shared context. You were both in the same building, working on the same projects, surrounded by the same cues. In the remote world, there is no shared context. You must create it with every message. Clarity is not just about being understood. It is about being unforgettable. When people know exactly what you mean, they know exactly who you are. The tone trap. If you have ever received a text message that felt off, you have experienced the tone trap. A friend sends, "Fine," just that one word, and you spiral. Are they angry? Are they tired? Are they upset with you? The word is the same regardless of their mood, but your interpretation depends entirely on the tone you imagine. In remote work, the tone trap is everywhere. An email that was meant to be direct comes across as harsh. A Slack message that was meant to be casual comes across as dismissive. A brief reply that was meant to be efficient comes across as cold. The problem is that we read text in our own voice. If we are feeling anxious, we read anxious messages. If we are feeling defensive, we read defensive messages. We project our own emotional state onto the words of others. The hack: add emotional signposts. In text-based communication, you cannot rely on tone to convey your meaning. You must explicitly state it. This feels awkward at first, but it is essential. Instead of, "We need to talk about the Q3 numbers," try, "I'd love to chat about the Q3 numbers when you have a moment. I have some thoughts, but I'm also eager to hear your perspective. No urgency, just want to align." Instead of, "That won't work," try, "I appreciate the suggestion, but I'm concerned that approach might conflict with the client's timeline. Can we explore alternatives?" The goal is to leave nothing to interpretation. If you are happy, say you are happy. If you are appreciative, say you are appreciative. If you have a concern, frame it as a concern, not as a criticism. You are not just transmitting words, you are transmitting emotional context. Make that context explicit. The speed fallacy. In the office, speed was often a virtue. A quick reply meant you were on top of things. A fast turnaround meant you were efficient. In the remote world, speed can be a trap. When you reply instantly to every message, you fragment your attention. You train your colleagues to expect immediate responses. You become a slave to the notification bell. But worse than that, you set unrealistic expectations. Your colleagues begin to believe that available means always on. There is also a deeper issue. The fastest reply is rarely the best reply. When you respond immediately, you respond with your gut. You respond with emotion. You respond without reflection. In a text-based world, where tone is easily misread, a gut response can cause damage that takes weeks to repair. The hack: implement the slow burn. For non-urgent communications, give yourself time. Let the message sit for an hour or even a few hours. Let your initial emotional reaction cool. Then read it again and craft a thoughtful response. This does not mean ignoring people. It means managing expectations. Set your status to focusing when you need deep work time. Use your calendar to block out response hours. In your email signature or Slack profile, add a note: "I check messages twice a day. If you need me urgently, please text or call." You are training your colleagues to understand your communication rhythm. And in doing so, you are protecting your focus and ensuring that when you do respond, you respond with clarity and care. The visibility paradox. There is a cruel irony at the heart of remote work. The harder you work, the less visible you become. In the office, effort was visible. Staying late, arriving early, working through lunch, these were signals of commitment. In the remote world, no one sees you work. They only see the output. And if you are quiet while producing that output, they may not even notice that. This creates a paradox. To be valued, you must be visible. But to be productive, you must be invisible. Deep work requires solitude. How do you resolve this contradiction? The hack: overcommunicate your process, not just your output. This does not mean sending hourly updates. It means being strategic about signaling your presence and progress. Start your day with a brief message in your team channel. Good morning, team. Today I'm focusing on the Johnson proposal and the Q4 analysis. I'll be in deep work until noon, but I'll be available after lunch. Let me know if anything urgent comes up. End your day with a brief wrap-up. Wrapping up for the day. Finished the Johnson draft and made good progress on Q4. Thanks for the quick feedback earlier, Sarah. Have a great evening, everyone. These messages take 2 minutes to write, but they do something profound. They make you visible. They show that you are working, that you are progressing, that you are part of the team. They replace the passive visibility of the office with active visibility. You can also over-communicate in meetings. Turn your video on. Nod. React. Say that's a great point, or I appreciate that perspective. These micro-communications signal that you are present, engaged, and valuable. Visibility is not about being seen. It is about being felt. When you communicate consistently, you create a presence that transcends distance. The meeting revolution. Meetings in the office were often inefficient, but they served a hidden purpose. They built relationships. They created shared context. They allowed for the informal chatter that oiled the gears of collaboration. Remote meetings, by contrast, are often brutally efficient. We join, we discuss, we leave. There is no walk to the conference room. No small talk while waiting for latecomers. No post-meeting debrief over coffee. We lose the relational glue. The hack: engineer the informal. If you are leading a meeting, start with 5 minutes of non-work chat. Ask about weekends. Ask about kids. Ask about the weather. It feels inefficient, but it is actually the most efficient thing you can do because it builds the trust that makes the work easier. If you are in a one-on-one, resist the urge to dive immediately into the agenda. Spend the first few minutes checking in on the human being behind the screen. How are you doing, really? What's been the highlight of your week? Is there anything outside of work that needs some space today? You can also create informal spaces. A dedicated Slack channel for non-work chat. A virtual coffee break where no agenda is allowed. A Friday afternoon water cooler video call where people can just hang out. These spaces feel optional, but they are essential. They are the digital equivalent of the break room. The feedback void. In the office, feedback was constant and often unconscious. A nod of approval, a raised eyebrow, a pat on the back, a sigh. These micro-feedbacks told us how we were doing. They guided our behavior. They reassured us that we were on the right track. In the remote world, feedback disappears. You send work and you hear nothing. You present an idea, and the silence is deafening. Is it good? Is it bad? Are they just busy? Your brain, starved of data, assumes the worst. You begin to doubt yourself. You second-guess your decisions. You lose confidence. The hack: ask for feedback explicitly and often. Do not wait for your manager to offer feedback. They are busy, and they may not realize you need it. Make feedback a regular part of your routine. After submitting a project, send a brief message. I'd love any thoughts you have on this when you have a moment. No rush, but your perspective is always helpful. In one-on-ones, make feedback a standing agenda item. I'm eager to hear how you think I'm doing. What's one thing I could do differently that would make a bigger impact? When you receive feedback, acknowledge it. Thank them. Show that you value it. This reinforces the behavior and makes them more likely to offer feedback again. You can also create feedback loops with peers. Swap work with a trusted colleague and agree to give each other honest, constructive feedback. You are creating the informal feedback mechanisms that the office used to provide. The written record. One of the hidden advantages of remote communication is that it is often written. And written communication has a superpower. It lasts. It can be referred to. It can be clarified. It can be held accountable. In the office, decisions were made in hallways and forgotten by lunch. In the remote world, decisions are made in Slack threads and email chains. They are documented. This is a gift. The hack: move important conversations to writing. After a verbal conversation, send a brief summary. Just to make sure I captured this correctly, here's what I understood from our chat. Please let me know if I missed anything. After After a meeting, send notes. Capture decisions, action items, and owners. Share them with the group. This serves multiple purposes. It ensures alignment, it creates accountability, and it provides a record for anyone who couldn't attend. When a decision is made, document it. Put it in a shared space. Make it accessible. The written record is the memory of the team. Without it, you are doomed to repeat conversations, revisit decisions, and waste time on debates that were already settled. The empathy muscle. Communication is not just about transmitting information. It is about understanding the other person. It is about stepping into their shoes, seeing the world from their perspective, and responding to their needs. In the office, empathy was easier. You could see the stress on someone's face. You could hear the exhaustion in their voice. You knew when to push and when to back off. In the remote world, empathy requires effort. You have to imagine what you cannot see. The hack: assume positive intent. When a message feels cold or abrupt, assume it was not intended that way. When someone misses a deadline, assume there is a reason beyond laziness. When feedback feels harsh, assume it was meant to help. Assuming positive intent is not naivety, it is strategy. It protects you from the anxiety of interpreting thin communication. It prevents conflict before it starts. It builds a culture of trust. You can also ask questions that invite empathy. How are you feeling about this project? What's been the hardest part of your week? Is there anything I could do to make this easier for you? These questions signal that you see the person, not just the worker. Empathy is the bridge across the digital divide. It turns distance into connection and silence into understanding. The power of video. There is a reason why video calls have become the default for remote meetings. Video provides something that audio and text cannot: the face. The face is the most expressive part of the human body. It conveys emotion, attention, and intention. It is the original communication technology. Yet many people resist turning their video on. They feel self-conscious. They worry about their background. They want to stay comfortable. But by hiding behind a black screen, they are hiding their humanity. The hack: turn your video on. This is not about being camera ready. It is about being present. When you turn your video on, you signal that you are there, that you are engaged, that you value the interaction. You give the other person the gift of your face, your expressions, your nods, your smiles. If you are self-conscious about your background, use a virtual background or blur. If you are worried about how you look, remember that everyone else is worried about the same thing. We are all in this together. In meetings, use your face to communicate. Nod when you agree. Smile when you appreciate something. Lean in when you are interested. These micro-expressions are the texture of human connection. Without them, communication is flat. Conclusion: the visible human. In the office, you were seen by default. In the remote world, you must choose to be seen. You must choose to communicate with clarity, empathy, and intention. You must choose to be present. This is the art of over-communication. It is not about talking more. It is about transmitting more. It is about sending not just words, but context, emotion, and humanity. It is about being visible in a world that defaults to invisibility. When you master this art, you become more than a remote worker. You become a leader. You become someone who builds bridges across distance, who creates trust in the absence of proximity, who makes others feel seen and heard. In the next chapter, we will move from communication to energy. We will explore the death of the clock and the shift from managing time to managing energy. We will discover how to work with our natural rhythms, not against them. But for now, look at your screen. Look at your last message. Could it be clearer? Could it be warmer? Could it be more human? The answer is always yes. The distance between two people is not measured in miles, but in understanding. Communicate not just to be heard, but to be known. Chapter 4. The death of the clock: energy management over time management. Time is finite and uncontrollable. Energy is renewable and manageable. Stop watching the clock and start fueling the fire. The tyranny of the tick. For centuries, the clock has been the undisputed ruler of human labor. The factory whistle blew and workers marched in. The lunch bell rang and they stopped. The quitting horn sounded and they flooded out. Time was the container and work was the content. We were paid for our hours, not for our output. We were measured by our attendance, not by our attention. This industrial age mindset carried over into the knowledge economy. We created the 9 to 5, the 40-hour week, the time sheet, the billable hour. We learned to slice our days into blocks, to watch the clock, to measure our lives in increments of 60 minutes. We became excellent at managing time. But time management is a myth. You cannot manage time. Time passes whether you manage it or not. It flows at exactly the same rate for everyone, everywhere. You cannot save it, store it, or slow it down. The only thing you can manage is yourself, your energy, your attention, your focus, within the time you have. The office hid this truth from us. The structure of the workplace carried us through the low-energy hours. We showed up tired, but we showed up. We pushed through the afternoon slump because we had to. We were carried by the momentum of the collective. Then we went remote, and the structure vanished. Suddenly, we were alone with our energy fluctuations. We discovered that 9 a.m. on Monday is not the same as 9 a.m. on Wednesday. We discovered that some hours are golden and others are lead. We discovered that trying to force focus when our energy is low is like trying to push a car uphill. This chapter is about the death of the clock. It is about liberating yourself from the tyranny of the hour and learning to work with your energy, not against it. It is about replacing time management with energy management and discovering a productivity that feels less like grinding and more like flowing. The biology of energy. To understand energy management, you must first understand your biology. You are not a machine. You are a living organism with rhythms, cycles, and needs. Your energy is not constant. It ebbs and flows in predictable patterns. The human body operates on a circadian rhythm, a roughly 24-hour cycle that regulates sleep, wakefulness, and alertness. But within that cycle, there are ultradian rhythms, shorter cycles of about 90 to 120 minutes during which your brain can focus intensely before it needs a rest. These are your natural work cycles. When you ignore these rhythms, you pay a price. You force focus when your brain is begging for rest. You drink coffee to override the signals. You push through and you produce work, but the work is mediocre and the cost is high. You end the day exhausted. Not because you worked hard, but because you fought yourself all day. The hack: map your energy landscape. For 1 week, keep a simple log. Every hour, rate your energy on a scale of 1 to 10. Note when you feel most alert, most creative, most focused. Note when you feel sluggish, distracted, or foggy. Look for patterns. You will likely find that you have peaks and valleys. Some people are morning larks, sharp and clear in the first hours of the day. Others are night owls, finding their stride as the sun sets. Most people have a post-lunch dip, a natural lull in alertness. These are not flaws, they are biology. Once you know your patterns, you can work with them. Schedule your most important, cognitively demanding work during your peak hours. Schedule routine, administrative tasks during your valleys. Stop fighting your biology and start using it. You do not need more hours. You need more hours that matter. Energy is the currency of impact. Spend it wisely. The myth of the 8-hour day. The 8-hour workday is a historical accident. It emerged from the labor movements of the 19th century, when factory workers fought for an 8-hour day to replace the brutal 10 and 12-hour shifts. It was a victory for human dignity, but it was never based on human biology. In reality, very few people can sustain 8 hours of high-quality focused work. Studies suggest that the average knowledge worker is productive for about 3 to 4 hours per day. The rest of the time is filled with meetings, emails, administrative tasks, and the low-grade busyness that passes for work. The office required us to be present for 8 hours, so we learned to spread our 3 hours of productive work across the entire day. We stretched it. We padded it. We pretended that being at our desk for 8 hours meant we worked for 8 hours. Remote work exposes this lie. Without the social pressure to look busy, you are forced to confront the truth. You cannot produce deep, valuable work for 8 hours a day. and you shouldn't try. The hack: protect your power hours. Identify the 2 to 3 hours each day when your energy is at its peak. Guard these hours with your life. Block them on your calendar. Turn off notifications. Close your email. Tell your team you are unavailable. Use this time for your most important work, the work that moves the needle, that requires creativity, that demands your full cognitive power. During these hours, do not multitask. Do not check Slack. Do not answer non-urgent emails. Give your peak energy to your peak priorities. This single shift, protecting your power hours, will transform your productivity more than any time management system ever could. The rest of the day, you can do the other stuff. Meetings, emails, planning, organizing. But the core work, the work that matters, gets your core energy. The rest revolution. There is a dangerous myth in modern work culture that rest is weakness, that the best workers are the ones who push through, who grind, who never stop. This myth is not only false, it is destructive. Rest is not the absence of work. Rest is the partner of work. They are two halves of a cycle. You cannot have one without the other. A muscle grows not during the workout, but during the recovery. A brain consolidates learning not during the study, but during the sleep. You produce your best work not when you are exhausted, but when you are refreshed. In the office, rest was forced upon you. Coffee breaks, lunch hours, the walk to the bathroom, the chat by the water cooler. These were micro-rests that punctuated your day. They happened automatically, without effort. In the remote world, rest must be intentional. If you do not schedule it, it will not happen. You will sit at your desk for hours, staring at the screen, producing less and less, until you are a hollow shell of a worker. The hack: schedule your breaks like meetings. Every 90 minutes, take a break. Stand up, walk away from the screen, stretch, look out the window. Do not check your phone. Do not scroll social media. True rest means disconnecting completely. Take a real lunch break. Do not eat at your desk while answering emails. Step away, cook something, go outside, read a book. Give your brain a chance to reset. And at the end of the day, stop. Really stop. Close your laptop. Put it away. Do not check email after dinner. Do not just finish one more thing. The work will be there tomorrow. Your energy will not. Rest is not a reward for work. It is the foundation of work. You cannot pour from an empty cup. The flow state. There is a state of consciousness that athletes call the zone and psychologists call flow. It is the state of complete absorption in an activity where time disappears, self-consciousness vanishes, and you are fully present in the moment. In flow, work feels effortless. Ideas flow freely. Problems solve themselves. Flow is the holy grail of productivity. In flow, you produce your best work in the least time. But flow cannot be forced. It cannot be scheduled. It must be invited. The conditions for flow are specific: clear goals, immediate feedback, and a challenge that matches your skills. But the most important condition is uninterrupted focus. Flow requires a block of time, at least 90 minutes, during which you will not be interrupted. The hack: create flow windows. Identify the conditions that help you enter flow. For some, it is silence. For others, it is specific music. For many, it is the early morning when the world is quiet. Create a ritual that signals to your brain, it is time for flow. Then protect that time absolutely. No notifications, no phone, no email, no open tabs, just you and the work. If you feel the urge to check something, resist. The urge will pass. Flow is waiting on the other side of resistance. Not every work session will be flow. That is okay. But by creating the conditions, you increase the probability. And even one flow state per week can produce more value than days of distracted work. The attention economy. Your attention is the most valuable resource you have. It is the raw material from which all your work is made, and it is under constant assault. Every notification, every ping, every buzz is a bid for your attention. Every open tab, every background app, every social media feed is competing for a piece of your mind. In the office, these distractions were limited by the environment. At home, they are infinite. The problem is that attention is not like money. You cannot save it. You cannot earn more. You can only allocate it. And every time you switch tasks, you pay a switching cost, the time it takes for your brain to disengage from one thing and engage with another. Researchers estimate that task switching can reduce productivity by as much as 40%. The hack: batch your attention. Group similar tasks together. Answer all your emails in one block, not throughout the day. Do all your meetings in the afternoon. Handle all your administrative work in one session. By batching, you reduce the switching costs and protect your deep work time. Use tools to protect your attention. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Use website blockers during focus time. Set your communication channels to do not disturb. Create a digital environment that supports focus, not fragmentation. Remember, every time you interrupt your deep work to check a message, you are not losing 5 seconds. You are losing 20 minutes, the time it takes to get back to flow. Protect your attention like the precious resource it is. The energy audit. Just as you audit your finances to understand where your money goes, you must audit your energy to understand where your life goes. Energy is not just physical. It is emotional, mental, and spiritual. Each type of energy can be depleted and renewed. Physical energy comes from sleep, nutrition, and movement. If you are sleeping poorly, eating junk, and sitting all day, your physical energy will be low. Everything else suffers. Emotional energy comes from connection, relationships, and meaning. If you are isolated, in conflict, or doing work that feels meaningless, your emotional energy will drain. Mental energy comes from focus, learning, and problem solving. If you are constantly distracted, overwhelmed, or bored, your mental energy will flag. Spiritual energy comes from purpose, values, and contribution. If your work feels disconnected from what matters to you, your spiritual energy will wither. The hack: conduct a weekly energy audit. At the end of each week, ask yourself, what gave me energy this week? What drained me? Where did I feel alive? Where did I feel dead? Look for patterns. Maybe certain meetings drain you. Maybe certain tasks energize you. Maybe certain people lift you up while others bring you down. Use this information to make changes. Eliminate or delegate the drains. Seek out the sources of energy. Design your work around what fuels you. This is not about avoiding hard things. Hard work can be energizing if it is meaningful. This is about eliminating the mindless, meaningless drains that leave you empty without contributing anything of value. The rhythm of the week. Just as your day has rhythms, your week has rhythms. Monday feels different from Thursday. The energy of a fresh week is different from the energy of a week winding down. Many remote workers make the mistake of treating every day the same. They wake up, open their laptop, and start working. But this uniformity ignores the natural rhythm of the week. The hack: theme your days. Assign a theme to each day of the week. Monday could be for planning and deep work, Tuesday for collaboration and meetings, Wednesday for creative work, Thursday for finishing and follow-up, Friday for review and learning. Theming your days creates focus. It reduces decision fatigue. It aligns your work with the natural energy of the week, and it gives you a sense of progress and variety. You can also theme your months or quarters. 1 month for learning a new skill, 1 quarter for a big project, 1 year for a specific focus. Themes give your time meaning beyond the clock. The integration of life. We have talked about energy management within work, but the ultimate energy management is the integration of work and life. In the old model, work energy and life energy were separate. You spent your work energy, then you went home and replenished it with life energy. In the remote model, the boundaries blur. Work energy leaks into life. Life energy leaks into work. This can be a disaster or a gift, depending on how you manage it. The hack: design your ideal week, not your ideal day. Instead of trying to balance work and life, integrate them. If you are most energized in the morning, do your deep work then, and take a long lunch to exercise or be with family. If you have low energy in the afternoon, use that time for household tasks or errands, and make up the work time in the evening when your energy returns. The goal is not to squeeze 8 hours of work into a rigid block. The goal is to get your work done while living your life. Some days that means working 4 hours. Some days that means working 10. The measure is not hours spent, but value created. This requires trust from your employer, your team, and yourself. But when you manage energy instead of time, you produce better work in less time. You are more present for your life. You are more alive in your work. Conclusion: the new clock. The old clock is dead. The 9 to 5, the 40-hour week, the time sheet, these relics of the industrial age no longer serve us. In their place, we must build a new relationship with time, one based on energy, attention, and rhythm. This is not easier than time management. It requires more self-awareness, more discipline, more honesty. You cannot hide behind the clock. You cannot pretend to work while scrolling social media. You cannot coast on caffeine and willpower. But when you master energy management, you discover something remarkable. You have more time than you thought. Not more hours, but more life in the hours you have. Your work becomes deeper, your rest becomes richer, and your days become fuller. In the next chapter, we will move from energy to connection. We will explore the social muscle and how to combat isolation intentionally. We will discover that remote work does not have to mean lonely work. But for now, put down the clock. Listen to your body. Work with your energy, not against it. The time you have is enough. The question is whether you are bringing enough of yourself to it. The clock measures hours, but energy measures impact. Stop counting the minutes and start making the minutes count. Chapter 5: The Social Muscle, Combating Isolation Intentionally. The strongest tree still needs the forest. Do not mistake solitude for strength. Real resilience is built in the soil of community. The silence of the solo worker. There is a peculiar sound to a remote worker's day. It is not the sound of silence exactly. There is the tapping of keys, the hum of the computer, the occasional notification chime. But there is something missing, the sound of other humans. No footsteps in the hallway, no distant laughter from the break room, no murmured conversations drifting over cubicle walls, no good morning as you pass a colleague, no see you tomorrow at the end of the day, just you alone with your screen broadcasting into the void. At first, this silence feels peaceful. After years of open-plan offices with their constant buzz and interruption, the quiet is a relief. But slowly, insidiously, the silence becomes something else. It becomes isolation. It becomes loneliness. It becomes a weight you carry without realizing it. Humans are social creatures. We evolved in tribes, in communities, in constant contact with others. Our brains are wired to connect, to read faces, to share experiences, to belong. When that connection is severed, something in us begins to wither. This is the hidden cost of remote work. It is not visible on a balance sheet. It does not show up in productivity metrics, but it shows up in your soul. It shows up in the creeping sense that you are alone, that you are forgotten, that you are just a name on a screen. This chapter is about fighting that isolation. It is about recognizing that social connection is not a distraction from work. It is the foundation of work. It is about building the social muscle, the deliberate practice of reaching out, connecting, and belonging in a world that makes isolation the default. The myth of the lone genius. There is a romantic image that pervades our culture. The lone genius, working in solitude, producing masterpieces through sheer individual brilliance. The writer in a cabin. The artist in a garret, the programmer in a dark room coding through the night. This image is a lie. Every great achievement in human history has been built on collaboration. Writers have editors and readers. Artists have patrons and peers. Scientists have research teams and competitors. Even the most solitary work is shaped by conversations, feedback, and the invisible presence of others. In the office, collaboration was automatic. You bounced ideas off colleagues. You got feedback without asking. You were influenced by the people around you. In the remote world, collaboration must be intentional. If you do not reach out, no one will reach in. The hack: schedule collaboration like you schedule work. Do not wait for collaboration to happen. Make it happen. Schedule regular check-ins with colleagues, even when there is no agenda. Create virtual co-working sessions where you work silently alongside someone else. Join online communities related to your field. The goal is not constant interaction, it is regular connection. The lone genius is a myth. The connected worker is real. And the connected worker produces better work, solves problems faster, and feels more fulfilled than the isolated one. No one creates in a vacuum. The air in the void is thin. You must bring your own oxygen in the form of other people. The anatomy of loneliness. Loneliness is not the same as being alone. You can be alone and feel content. You can be surrounded by people and feel lonely. Loneliness is the gap between the connection you have and the connection you need. For remote workers, this gap can grow without you noticing. You have video calls, you have Slack messages, you have email. You are interacting with people all day, but these interactions are often transactional. They are about tasks, not about people. They leave you feeling used, not connected. The problem is that digital communication is thin. It conveys information, but not presence. It transmits words, but not warmth. You can have a dozen Slack conversations and still feel utterly alone because no one asked how you are, no one laughed at your joke, no one saw you as a person. The hack: separate transactional communication from relational communication. Transactional communication is about getting things done. It is necessary, but it does not fill the social tank. Relational communication is about connecting as humans. It is the chat before the meeting, the check-in that has no agenda, the message that says, "I was thinking of you." Make time for relational communication. Send a message that has nothing to do with work. Ask about someone's weekend. Share something personal. Create space in meetings for non-work chat. These moments feel inefficient, but they are the glue that holds teams together. Without them, you are just a collection of individuals completing tasks. The virtual water cooler. In every office, there is a water cooler. It is not just a place to get water, it is a place to connect. People gather there. They chat about the weekend. They complain about the weather. They share stories. These moments are not in the job description, but they are essential. The water cooler serves a critical function. It builds social capital. When you know someone as a person, not just as a colleague, you trust them more. You collaborate better. You give them the benefit of the doubt when things go wrong. You enjoy working with them. In the remote world, the water cooler is gone. There is no natural gathering place. There is no accidental bumping into people. Connection must be created. The hack: create intentional gathering spaces. Set up a Slack channel dedicated to non-work chat. Call it the water cooler or random or Friday fun. Encourage people to share photos, jokes, stories, and updates. Post in it yourself. Keep it alive. Schedule optional social gatherings. A virtual coffee break on Wednesday mornings. A Friday afternoon happy hour. A lunch and learn where people eat together and talk about something non-work related. These gatherings should have no agenda, no pressure, no expectation, just space to be human. If you are a leader, model this behavior. Share something personal. Ask about people's lives. Show that you value them as humans, not just as workers. The culture you create will determine whether your team thrives or merely survives. The friendship deficit. One of the quiet tragedies of remote work is the friendship deficit. In the office, friendships formed naturally. You sat near someone. You ate lunch together. You complained about the same boss. Over months and years, colleagues became friends. These friendships were not just nice to have, they were protective. They buffered against stress. They made work meaningful. They gave you people to celebrate with and people to lean on. In the remote world, friendships are harder to form. The casual proximity is gone. The shared experiences are fewer. You have to work at friendship in a way you never did before. The hack: invest in one-on-one connections. Do not try to be friends with everyone. That is exhausting and unrealistic. Instead, identify a few people you genuinely connect with and invest in those relationships. Schedule regular one-on-one video calls that are not about work. Play online games together. Share playlists. Send each other articles or videos you think they would like. Treat these relationships like the friendships they are, not like networking opportunities. Friendship requires vulnerability. It requires showing up as your whole self, not just your work self. It requires asking for help and offering help. It requires time, but the return on that investment is immeasurable. A work friend can be the difference between dreading Monday and looking forward to it. In the office, friendship happened to you. At home, you must happen to friendship. The body in isolation. Isolation is not just a mental state, it is a physical one. When we are lonely, our bodies respond. Cortisol levels rise, inflammation increases, immune function declines. The stress of isolation literally makes us sick. In the office, physical proximity to others had biological effects. We were exposed to their germs, yes, but also to their presence. We synchronized with their rhythms. We co-regulated with their nervous systems. We were part of a herd, and the herd kept us safe. In the remote world, we lose that physical co-regulation. We are alone with our own nervous systems, and if we are stressed, there is no one nearby to calm us. Our bodies go into survival mode. The hack: create physical connection where you can. If you live with others, prioritize physical presence. Eat meals together. Sit in the same room while working sometimes. Hug. Touch. These small physical connections regulate your nervous system and remind your body that you are not alone. If you live alone, find ways to be around people. Work from a coffee shop or co-working space occasionally. Go to the gym. Join a club or class. Attend meetups. Your body needs to be in physical proximity to other humans, even if you do not interact with them. The simple presence of others can calm your nervous system. Do not underestimate the power of touch. A hug from a friend, a handshake, a pat on the back, these are not just social niceties. They are biological necessities. Find safe ways to meet that need. The identity crisis. When you work in an office, your work identity is reinforced by the environment. You are a manager because you have a corner office. You are a team member because you sit with the team. You are valued because people seek you out. When you work remotely, that external reinforcement disappears. You are just a name on a screen. Your identity becomes fuzzy. You start to wonder, am I really a professional? Am I really contributing? Does anyone even notice I'm here? This identity crisis is a form of social isolation. It is the feeling that you do not matter, that you are not seen, that you are replaceable. It can erode your confidence and your sense of self. The hack: seek external validation intentionally. This does not mean fishing for compliments. It means creating opportunities to be seen and valued. Volunteer for visible projects. Present your work in meetings. Ask for feedback. Share your wins and your struggles with your team. It also means building an identity outside of work. Who are you when you are not a worker? What are your hobbies, your passions, your roles in your community? A strong identity outside of work protects you from the identity crises that work can trigger. You are more than your job. You are more than your title. The more you believe that, the less you will need the office to tell you who you are. The team is tribe. In the best workplaces, the team becomes a tribe. They share rituals, stories, and values. They look out for each other. They celebrate together and mourn together. They are more than a collection of individuals, they are a community. Building a tribe remotely is hard, but it is possible. It requires intention, consistency, and vulnerability. The hack: create team rituals. Rituals are repeated behaviors that carry meaning. They create a sense of belonging and identity. In a remote team, rituals might include a Monday morning check, in where everyone shares one thing they did over the weekend. A Wednesday afternoon, co-working session where everyone works silently together on video. A Friday wrap-up, where everyone shares one win from the week. A monthly virtual celebration of birthdays and work anniversaries. An annual retreat, where the team meets in person. These rituals create a shared experience. They build memories. They turn a group of individuals into a tribe. If you are not the leader, you can still create rituals. Invite a few colleagues to a weekly virtual coffee. Start a book club. Create a channel for sharing music. You do not need permission to build community. You just need initiative. The vulnerability loop. There is a powerful dynamic in human relationships called the vulnerability loop. It works like this. You share something personal. The other person responds with empathy. Trust deepens. They share something personal. You respond with empathy. Trust deepens further. Around and around, building connection with each cycle. In the office, vulnerability happened naturally. You saw someone having a bad day. You asked if they were okay. They told you. You listened. The loop began. In the remote world, vulnerability must be chosen. You have to decide to share. You have to decide to ask. It feels risky because you cannot see the other person's reaction. You cannot read their face. You are reaching into the dark. The hack: be the first to be vulnerable. If you want connection, you must be willing to take the first step. Share something real. I'm struggling with this project. I had a rough weekend. I'm feeling a bit isolated today. These small admissions signal to others that it is safe to be human. When someone else is vulnerable, respond with empathy. Do not try to fix it. Do not minimize it. Just acknowledge it. That sounds hard. I hear you. I'm glad you told me. These simple responses complete the vulnerability loop and build trust. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is courage. And in a remote world, it is the fastest path to genuine connection. The balance of solitude and connection. There is a paradox at the heart of remote work. You need solitude to do deep work, but you need connection to stay human. Too much solitude and you wither. Too much connection and you cannot focus. The key is not to choose one over the other. The key is to balance them intentionally. The hack: design your week for both. Block out time for deep, solitary work. Protect it fiercely, but also block out time for connection. Schedule calls with colleagues. Attend virtual events. Meet friends for coffee. Treat connection as seriously as you treat work. Notice your own needs. Some people need more solitude. Others need more connection. There is no right answer except the one that works for you. Pay attention to how you feel. If you are feeling lonely, reach out. If you are feeling overwhelmed, pull back. You are the only one who can calibrate your balance. Conclusion: the courage to connect. Isolation is the default setting of remote work. If you do nothing, you will drift into loneliness. Connection requires effort. It requires reaching out when you would rather retreat. It requires being vulnerable when you would rather be safe. It requires building community when it would be easier to work alone. But the effort is worth it, because we are not meant to be alone. We are meant to be together. We are meant to share our lives, our work, our struggles, and our joys. We are meant to be part of something larger than ourselves. In the remote world, you must build that something yourself. You must flex your social muscle. You must reach out again and again until connection becomes a habit. And when you do, you will discover that remote work does not have to mean lonely work. It can mean intentional connection. It can mean chosen community. It can mean relationships that are deeper because they are deliberate. In the next chapter, we will move from connection to impact. We will explore the visibility paradox and how to make your work known when you are not seen. We will discover that being invisible does not mean being forgotten. But for now, reach out. Send that message. Make that call. Ask that question. You are not alone unless you choose to be. Loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the absence of connection. Build bridges, not walls, and you will never be alone. Chapter 6: The Visibility Paradox, Making Your Impact Known. Do not let your work be a secret. The world is too busy to dig for gold. You must learn to polish the nuggets and hold them up to the light. The invisible worker. There is a fear that haunts every remote worker. It whispers in the quiet moments, in the spaces between tasks, in the late hours when doubt creeps in. The fear is this: if no one sees me, will I be forgotten? In the office, visibility was automatic. Your boss saw you at your desk. Colleagues passed you in the hallway. You were present, and presence was enough. But in the remote world, presence is invisible. You can work 12 hours straight, produce brilliant work, and if you do not broadcast it, no one will know. This is the visibility paradox. The harder you work in solitude, the less visible you become. The more you focus on deep work, the more you disappear from the social landscape. You are producing value, but that value is invisible until you make it visible. Many remote workers respond to this paradox by working even harder. They think that if they just produce enough, their brilliance will be noticed. But brilliance is not self-announcing. In a world of information overload, no one has time to dig for your gold. You must bring it to the surface yourself. This chapter is about solving the visibility paradox. It is about learning to make your impact known without bragging, without self-promotion that feels icky, without becoming that person who talks more than they work. It is about the delicate art of being seen while staying focused on what matters. The difference between output and impact. Let us begin with a crucial distinction. Output is not impact. Output is what you do. Impact is what changes because of what you do. In the office, impact was often visible in real time. You solved a problem and people saw the solution unfold. You completed a project and the team celebrated. In the remote world, output is invisible. You send a file and it disappears into the void. You complete a task and it is checked off a list that no one sees. The connection between your work and its effect is broken. The hack: connect your output to impact explicitly. When you complete a piece of work, do not just send it. Explain what it means. Here is the Q3 report. I want to highlight that we exceeded our targets by 12%, primarily because of the new process we implemented in August. You are not just transmitting a file. You are telling a story about value. When you contribute in a meeting, do not just make your point. Summarize the value. To build on what Sarah said, I think my research suggests we could save 3 weeks by taking this approach. You are not just talking. You are framing your contribution as impact. The goal is to make the invisible visible. Every time you communicate about your work, ask yourself, does this message convey output or impact? Output is forgettable. Impact is memorable. Output is what you do. Impact is what changes. The world pays for impact, not effort. The humble brag trap. There is a temptation when you feel invisible to oversell yourself, to broadcast every win, to make sure everyone knows how hard you are working. This is the humble brag trap, and it is deadly to your reputation. People can smell self-promotion. When you constantly talk about your accomplishments, you trigger the opposite reaction of what you intend. Instead of being seen as valuable, you are seen as needy. Instead of being admired, you are resented. The humble brag, "I'm so exhausted from staying up late to finish that project," is transparent. It repels people. It damages trust. It makes you look insecure. The hack: let your work speak through others. The most powerful form of visibility is not self-promotion. It is third-party validation. When someone else praises your work, it carries 10 times the weight of self-praise. Your job is to create the conditions for that to happen. How? By being genuinely helpful, by making others look good, by solving problems that matter. When you consistently deliver value, people will notice. And when they notice, they will talk. Cultivate advocates. When you help a colleague, they remember. When you go above and beyond for a client, they appreciate it. These people become your ambassadors. They will mention your name in meetings you are not in. They will recommend you for projects. They will make you visible without you having to say a word. The documentation habit. One of the most powerful tools for visibility is documentation. When you write things down, you create a record. That record can be seen, shared, and referenced. It extends your presence beyond the moment. In the office, documentation was often an afterthought. Meetings happened, decisions were made, and everyone relied on memory. In the remote world, memory is unreliable. Documentation is essential. The hack: document everything that matters. After every important meeting, send a summary. Include decisions, action items, and owners. This serves multiple purposes. It ensures alignment, it creates accountability, and it makes you visible as the person who captures and organizes. When you complete a project, write a brief summary. What was the goal? What did you achieve? What did you learn? Share it with your team and your manager. You are not bragging, you are creating institutional memory, and in the process, you are making your impact known. Keep a running log of your accomplishments, not for your boss, but for yourself. At the end of the year, when performance review time comes, you will have a rich record of your value. You will not have to scramble to remember what you did. You will have it documented. The strategic update. Regular updates are a staple of remote work, but most people do them wrong. They list tasks. Did this, did that, working on this. These updates are forgettable. They convey activity, not value. The hack. Structure your updates around impact. Instead of a list of tasks, organize your update around themes. Wins, progress, challenges, and next steps. Wins. What did you accomplish that moved the needle? Be specific about the impact. Progress. What are you working on that is progressing well? Challenges. Where are you stuck? What help do you need? Next steps. What will you focus on next? This structure transforms a mundane update into a strategic communication. It tells your team and your leader not just what you did, but why it matters. It invites help when you need it. It demonstrates that you are thinking strategically, not just ticking boxes. Send these updates consistently. Weekly is good. Bi-weekly works. The key is regularity. When people know they will hear from you on a schedule, they stop wondering what you are doing. You become predictably visible. The visibility of presence. In the office, presence was physical. You were seen because you were there. In the remote world, presence must be digital. You must be seen in the channels where work happens. The hack. Be actively present in team communication. This does not mean responding to every message instantly. It means being visible in a way that signals engagement. React to messages with emojis. Comment on colleagues' updates. Ask questions in threads. Share relevant articles or resources. When you are in meetings, turn your video on. Nod. Smile. Use the chat to contribute. These micro-actions signal that you are present, engaged, and valuable. They make you visible in the minds of your colleagues. If you are working on something, share your progress in the team channel. Making good progress on the Johnson proposal. Should have a draft by end of day. This takes 10 seconds but accomplishes two things. It keeps your team informed and it makes your work visible. The feedback loop. Visibility is not just about broadcasting, it is also about receiving. When you are visible, people give you feedback. They tell you what is working and what is not. This feedback is essential for growth. The hack. Actively seek feedback on your visibility. Ask your manager, how am I doing in terms of visibility? Is there anything I could do differently to make my impact clearer to the team? Ask colleagues, do you feel like you have a good sense of what I'm working on? Is there anything you wish you knew more about? This does two things. First, it gives you valuable information about how you are perceived. Second, it signals that you care about being a good teammate. Both are valuable. When you receive feedback, act on it. If someone says they would like more updates, give them more updates. If someone says your communication is unclear, work on clarity. Feedback is a gift, use it. The balance of visibility and work. There is a danger in focusing too much on visibility. You can become that person who talks more than they do, who spends more time broadcasting than producing. This is the opposite of the goal. The hack. Let your work be the foundation of your visibility. Visibility without substance is noise. If you are visible but not producing, people will quickly learn to ignore you. The goal is to be visible because of your work, not instead of it. Spend the majority of your time on deep, valuable work. Let that work be the engine. Then spend a small portion of your time, perhaps 15 minutes a day, on making that work visible. Share updates. Document progress. Connect with colleagues. The ratio matters. 80% work, 20% visibility. Adjust as needed, but never let visibility become a substitute for work. Conclusion. The confident contributor. The visibility paradox is real, but it is solvable. You can be both a deep worker and a visible contributor. You can produce brilliant work and make sure it is known. The key is intentionality. You must be intentional about documenting your impact, intentional about structuring your communication, intentional about building advocates, intentional about being present. None of this happens by accident. It happens by design. And here is the secret. When you do this well, it does not feel like self-promotion. It feels like service. You are not bragging, you are informing. You are not seeking attention, you are providing clarity. You are not self-absorbed, you are a team player who wants everyone to have the information they need. This is the confident contributor. Secure in their value, generous with their knowledge, visible without being needy. This is who you can become. In the final chapter, we will move from visibility to wholeness. We will explore integration, not balance, and how to unify your work and life into one coherent, meaningful existence. But for now, look at your work. Is it a secret? If so, it is time to let the light in. Visibility is not vanity. It is responsibility. If your work matters, the world needs to know about it. Chapter 7. Integration, not balance, the unified life. Do not seek a balance that keeps work and life separate. Seek an integration that makes them indistinguishable from a life well lived. The goal is not to have a great career and a great life. The goal is to have one great life. The balance trap. For decades, we have been sold a lie. The lie is called work-life balance. It is the idea that work and life are opposing forces, locked in eternal struggle, and that our job is to keep them in perfect equilibrium. Like a scale, if one side goes up, the other must go down. If work is heavy, life must be light. If life is full, work must suffer. This metaphor is seductive, but it is wrong. It assumes that work and life are separate, that they compete, that they cannot coexist. It sets us up for constant guilt. When we are working, we feel we should be living. When we are living, we feel we should be working. We are never fully present anywhere because we are always aware of what we are neglecting. Remote work exposes the lie of balance more than any other arrangement. Because when your office is your home, the boundaries blur. Work seeps into life. Life seeps into work. The clean separation that the balance metaphor requires is impossible. But what if that is not a problem? What if it is an opportunity? This chapter is about moving beyond balance to integration. It is about rejecting the false dichotomy between work and life and embracing the truth. You have one life, and work is part of it. The goal is not to keep them separate, but to weave them together into a coherent whole. The goal is integration. The origins of separation. To understand integration, we must first understand how work and life became separated in the first place. It was not always this way. Before the Industrial Revolution, most people worked where they lived. Farmers worked the land around their homes. Artisans had workshops attached to their houses. Merchants lived above their shops. Work and life were intertwined, not because people were enlightened, but because that was simply how the world worked. The Industrial Revolution changed everything. Factories concentrated labor in specific locations. Workers had to leave their homes and go to the factory. For the first time, there was a clear separation between the place of work and the place of life. The commute was born. The concept of going to work emerged. For 2 centuries, this separation shaped our psychology. We came to see work as something we do out there and life as something we do back home. We developed different selves for different contexts. We became adept at switching modes. Then remote work arrived, and the physical separation vanished. Suddenly, we were back to something resembling the pre-industrial model, but with a modern twist. We had the technology to work from anywhere, but we still had the psychology of separation. We were living in one era with the mindset of another. The hack recognized that the separation was never natural. It was a historical accident. You are not failing at balance. You are succeeding at adapting to a new reality. The goal is not to recreate the old separation, but to embrace the new integration. The walls between work and life were built by factories, not by nature. They can be unbuilt by choice. The fluidity of attention. In an integrated life, attention flows like water. It moves where it is needed when it is needed. It does not rigidly adhere to clocks and calendars. It responds to the moment. This fluidity is terrifying to those raised on the balance metaphor. If attention flows freely, does that mean I am always working? Does that mean I never truly rest? The answer is no. It means you work when work needs you, and you rest when rest needs you. It means you are responsive to the actual demands of your life, not to arbitrary boundaries. Consider a simple example. Your child is home sick. In the balance model, this is a crisis. Work and life are colliding. You must choose one or the other, and whichever you choose, you will feel guilty about the one you neglected. In the integration model, you simply adjust. You work while your child naps. You check emails while they watch a movie. You make up the time in the evening after they are asleep. The work gets done. The child gets cared for. No guilt, no crisis, just flow. The hack: replace rigid boundaries with flexible rhythms. Instead of saying, I work from 9 to 5 and not a minute more, say, I will get my work done, and I will be present for my life, and I will adjust moment by moment to make both possible. This requires trust in yourself and in your employer. But when you operate from a place of integration, you discover that you are more productive, not less. You work when you are most focused. You rest when you are most tired. You are present when you are most needed. Life becomes a dance, not a tug-of-war. The myth of multitasking. Integration is not multitasking. Multitasking is the enemy of both work and life. It is the attempt to do two things at once, which usually means doing both poorly. Integration is about sequencing, not simultaneous. When you are with your family, be with your family. Do not check email. Do not take calls. Do not think about work. Be present. When you are working, work. Do not scroll social media. Do not do laundry. Do not worry about the dishes. Be present. Integration means that the boundaries are porous, not that they are absent. You can move between work and life fluidly, but when you are in one mode, you are fully there. The hack: practice single tasking. When you are working, close all non-work tabs. Put your phone in another room. Focus on one task at a time. When you are with loved ones, put your devices away. Look at them. Listen to them. Be with them. The quality of your attention matters more than the quantity of your time. 5 minutes of fully present attention with your child is worth more than an hour of distracted half-presence. 1 hour of deep, focused work is worth more than 4 hours of fragmented busyness. Integration is not about doing everything at once. It is about doing one thing at a time, fully, and then smoothly transitioning to the next. The redefinition of success. The balance model defines success in terms of time, equal hours for work and life. The integration model defines success in terms of